The influx of large sums of aid money into African countries without sufficient accountability and transparency mechanisms has led to widespread mismanagement and embezzlement of funds. Corrupt officials and political elites often use aid funds for personal gain, leaving little impact on the communities that need development assistance the most. This has deepened the trust deficit between African governments and their citizens. Welcome back to One Africa Show, where we explore the crucial issues shaping Africa's future. I'm your host, Patrick Newman, and today we continue our important series, A Seat at the Table, Africa's Struggle for Representation. This series focuses on the challenges Africa faces in taking its rightful place on the global stage, offering solutions to ensure the continent is heard, represented, and empowered. We want to take a moment to express our heartfelt gratitude to each and every one of you for the overwhelming support and constructive feedback we've received following the launch of our podcast, A Seat at the Table, Africa's Struggle for Representation. Your voices are being heard, and we're listening. In response, we're excited to announce that in the coming days, we'll be bringing on analysts and experts from leading African and international institutions to dive even deeper into these vital conversations. This is more than a podcast. It's a movement for visibility, equity, and real change. Stay tuned, stay engaged, and as always, subscribe, share, and be part of the dialogue. Today in Chapter 9, Western Aid versus African Solutions, Dependency or Development, we will explore one of the most significant and controversial issues that has shaped Africa's economic landscape, foreign aid. While aid has been presented as a necessary tool for development, there is an ongoing debate about its long-term effectiveness. Has foreign aid truly helped Africa grow? Or has it contributed more to dependency than sustainable development? Let's begin by acknowledging that foreign aid has, without a doubt, played a crucial role in alleviating short-term crises on the continent. Whether it's emergency relief during natural disasters, humanitarian aid during conflicts, or providing vital support in the face of pandemics, aid has often been a lifeline for millions of Africans. However, the long-term impact of aid is a different conversation. For many, the legacy of foreign aid is not one of empowerment, but dependency. The reality is that much of Western aid comes with conditions that serve the strategic and economic interests of the donor countries rather than addressing the real needs of African nations. Conditionality, as it's often called, comes in many forms. These are the requirements that donor countries and international institutions, like the International Monetary Fund, IMF, and World Bank, attach to their loans, forcing African countries to adopt specific economic policies that may not be in their best interests. One of the most significant challenges with foreign aid is that these conditions frequently undermine African sovereignty. Donors often insist that African countries implement austerity measures, privatize state-owned assets, and deregulate markets. While these policies are framed as necessary for economic stabilization, they frequently weaken state control over key industries and leave African economies vulnerable to foreign exploitation. In addition, Western aid is often tied to political alignment. Countries that align with the foreign policies of donor nations tend to receive larger, more favorable aid packages, while those that challenge Western dominance face economic sanctions or reductions in aid. As a result, some African leaders may prioritize maintaining aid flows over implementing policies that would genuinely benefit their people. This situation not only perpetuates Africa's dependency on aid, but also undermines self-reliance. Another major issue is that foreign aid has, in many cases, fueled corruption rather than alleviating poverty. The influx of large sums of aid money into African countries without sufficient accountability and transparency mechanisms has led to widespread mismanagement and embezzlement of funds. Corrupt officials and political elites often use aid funds for personal gain, leaving little impact on the communities that need development assistance the most. This has deepened the trust deficit between African governments and their citizens. While donors often boast about the millions of dollars allocated to aid, the reality is that much of it never reaches the people. Instead, it becomes a tool for political elites to maintain their grip on power, further stifling the development of the people they claim to serve. Now let's look at some case studies to understand how foreign aid has undermined Africa's economic and political independence. 1. The case of Malawi and food security. In the early 2000s, Malawi faced a severe food crisis, and Western donors pressured the government to adopt free market policies, including reducing agricultural subsidies. This move, pushed by the World Bank and other donor nations, severely hurt local farmers who couldn't afford essential fertilizers and seeds. As a result, food production plummeted, leading to a food shortage. However, when the Malawian government decided to reintroduce agricultural subsidies in 2005, the country saw a dramatic increase in food production, leading to food security and even surplus production. This case highlights how donor-imposed policies can be detrimental to economic independence, and how locally driven solutions can prove far more effective than foreign-imposed mandates. Second, structural adjustment programs in Zambia. In the 1990s, Zambia, like many African countries, was subjected to structural adjustment programs, SAPs, imposed by the IMF and World Bank. These programs forced the country to privatize key industries, including its copper mines, which were sold to foreign companies at far below market value. While the idea was to attract foreign investment, the outcome was mass unemployment, reduced state revenues, and significant economic instability. The privatization of Zambia's mines benefited foreign corporations, but left the local population with few economic opportunities. 3. The role of aid in Ethiopia's political landscape. Ethiopia has been one of the largest recipients of Western aid, but much of this aid has been used to strengthen the ruling government rather than promote democracy or genuine development. The Ethiopian government has been accused of using aid resources to suppress political opposition, control the media, and limit civil liberties. This case demonstrates how aid can be manipulated to maintain authoritarian regimes rather than foster democratic, people-centered development. Given the challenges outlined, what can be done to break free from the cycle of dependency and foster self-reliance? While aid has played a role in addressing emergencies, its long-term impact has often been counterproductive, fostering dependency rather than promoting sustainable development. To break this cycle, African nations must prioritize African-led solutions for economic growth. Here are several key strategies. First, strengthening intra-African trade and economic integration. One of the most powerful ways to reduce dependence on foreign aid is to strengthen intra-African trade. The African Continental Free Trade Area, AFCFTA, presents a significant opportunity to enhance trade among African nations. By reducing trade barriers and creating larger, more integrated markets, African countries can boost industrialization, employment, and economic collaboration. This will also reduce the need to rely on external markets and donor countries for economic support. 2. Investing in local industries and manufacturing. Africa's reliance on raw material exports must be reduced by investing in local industries. Rather than sending raw commodities abroad, African nations must prioritize value-added industries, such as refining, manufacturing, and production facilities to create higher-value products. This shift will generate employment, increase GDP, and position Africa as a global player in industrial production. 3. Mobilizing domestic resources for development. Instead of depending on foreign aid, African countries can strengthen their tax collection systems, curb illicit financial flows, and promote savings and investment within their economies. Effective taxation and anti-corruption measures can generate significant revenue for national development projects, reducing the need for external funding. 4. The role of social enterprises and community-driven initiatives. Social enterprises and grassroots initiatives offer alternative models to traditional aid. These initiatives focus on sustainable development by empowering local communities and prioritizing long-term solutions. Social enterprises like M-Pesa in Kenya and Give Directly have shown how homegrown solutions can effectively address economic challenges, operating on sustainable business models that solve social issues. 5. Leveraging technology for sustainable development. Technology offers Africa a unique opportunity to bypass traditional constraints. Tech startups in agriculture, healthcare, and education are helping to reduce reliance on aid by creating sustainable economic ecosystems. Platforms like Farm Crowdy in Nigeria are connecting farmers with investors, providing them with capital and resources to expand their businesses without relying on external aid. In conclusion, the debate over Western aid versus African solutions speaks to the broader challenge of achieving economic self-reliance. While aid has addressed short-term crises, its long-term impact has often been detrimental, fostering dependency rather than true development. By focusing on regional trade, industrialization, investment in local industries, and community-driven solutions, Africa can chart a path towards sustainable development. The future of Africa lies not in aid, but in self-sufficiency, innovation, and strategic planning led by Africans for Africans. Let's continue pushing for Africa to take its rightful seat at the table, with the strength and resources to shape its own future. Thank you for joining me today on One Africa Show. Please subscribe, like, and share this video, and stay tuned for our upcoming book, A Seat at the Table, Africa's Struggle for Representation. Together, we can ensure Africa's future is shaped on its own terms.